Time now for the Educated Retirement Show with your host, Jay Kaplan. Jay discusses reverse mortgages and can answer your questions at 951-922-3532. Call lines are open at 951-922-3532. And now here's Jay.
Yeah, here's Jay. And welcome back. I hope you enjoyed listening to John Moss talk about Native American issues and his background. So we will go on now with our nostalgia section, which is, famous people's birthdays. And who was born on April Fool's Day in 1932 and left us in 2016? Nobody other than Debbie Reynolds. So Mary Frances Debbie Reynolds was an American actress, singer, and businesswoman. Her career spanned almost 70 years, and she starred in over 60 films. Boy, that's a lot. She was born in El Paso, Texas. Her father was a carpenter who worked for Southern Pacific Railroad. So I like railroads. You know, I like jazz and music, but I'm also a foamer. And that's what they call people who like trains. They foam at the mouth when they see trains. And that's what, people that like trains call each other. So her mother took in laundry for income while they lived in a shack in El Paso. And Debbie said, "We may have been poor, but we always had something to eat, even if Dad had to go out in the desert and shoot jackrabbits. We were always a happy family and a religious one." Her family moved to Burbank in 1930 when she was 16 years old, and she attended Burbank High School. And I guess John Moss was also spent some time in Burbank, and you heard me talk about Bob's Big Boy, but he talked about more bigger highbrow things like the Smokehouse. Anyway, she won the Miss Burbank beauty contest soon after. Not sure what year. What's that? Let's see. So it'd be the early 30s. And she was discovered by talent scouts and was offered a contract with Warner Brothers. And so her professional acting career began. Her breakout role was the leading role as Kathy Selden in Singing in the Rain, which is just a great movie, even if you don't like musicals or whatever. It's a movie about movies. And what I really kind of liked about it was that it showed Debbie Reynolds singing in the background for someone else. Hagen, what's her name? Such a great actress, Hagen. But it showed Debbie Reynolds in the background, behind the curtain, doing the singing for the star of this movie that they were making. And in reality, somebody else was singing for Debbie Reynolds. Anyway, Reynolds also had several business ventures, including ownership of a dance studio and a Las Vegas hotel and casino. Dance studio, huh? She didn't know dancing that well at all until she got into Gone with the Wind. And anyway, she was an avid collector of film memorabilia and money items purchased at the landmark 1970 MGM auction. Debbie received the Jean Hersholt Humanitarian Award nomination for the Best Actress for Unsinkable Molly Brown, 2 Lifetime Achievement Awards in Comedy, 4 nominations for Golden Globe Awards, and Best Actress, to name a few. Debbie and her father, let me show a couple of pictures. As we all know, this is younger, but obviously recognizable. This is older, but definitely recognizable. Older still, right here, recognizable. And this represents something even older and unrecognizable, but that's another story. So Debbie and her daughter, Carrie Fisher, were very close. Reynolds died of a stroke while planning her daughter's funeral. The pair died only one day apart. They lived next to each other for 15 years. So here's a short list of Debbie Reynolds films. Singing in the Rain, which I've got played so many times I couldn't find it this morning. So be it. But that was 1952. I believe it won Best Picture, things like that. I mean, it's amazingly wonderful film. Tammy and the Bachelor, 1957. How the West Was Won, 1962. And this is soundtrack. And of course, the train scene for us foamers was very, very pretty exciting. As you recall, what's his name, who used to have that really great restaurant in Pasadena, who was, can you look at, who did Dances with Wolves? What's his name?
Oh, Costner?
Kevin Costner was, and I don't really watch that much of the Academy Awards, but I happened to be watching when Kevin Costner was talking about how he really got excited about films, and he was watching a Cinerama that had 3 different directors. Well, we know he was talking about How the West Was Won. Mm-hmm. Anyway, Debbie Reynolds, again, was the Unsinkable Molly Brown, was 1964, and The Singing Nun, 1966. And who else was born? Hans Christian Andersen was born on the 2nd of April. And he came into this world in 1895 and left. No. These numbers are not right. Take a look at these. No, you don't want to. I've got 1875. He only lived minus 20 years. No, I think that's wrong, but we'll figure that out before the show is over. Hans Christian Andersen.
He passed away 1875.
And when was he born?
1805.
Ah, that must have been a finger. That must have been.
About that.
No, it must have been me. No, that was you're right. 1805 to 1875. Yeah. So many people seem to associate fairy tales such as The Little Mermaid with Disney. However, many don't know that many of the fairy tales that Disney reproduces and mass markets were actually written decades ago by Hans Christian Andersen. Let's get, boy, was he ugly. No.
Younger, maybe you want to start.
I'm supposed to show younger, I think, first. So he doesn't look so much like me anymore. Yeah, that's him, huh? Because that looks like it comes out of one of those books. That,
it does.
A fairy tale type book.
Yeah.
And then here is him getting a little older. It's got a watermark on his cheek, but if you want to think of those as wrinkles, that's okay too. There he is. But, given the time, that was kind of a good look, I guess, at that time. And very studious here. And there he is, Hans Christian Andersen.
That's a good photograph.
Huh?
I like the photograph.
That's a real photograph, right? So they all are, actually. Yeah, it is good. It's sepia toned. That's the way it's supposed to be. Usually when I show you a sepia toned picture, it's because I'm running out of ink, but not in this case. Hans was a Danish author. He was a writer of plays, travelogues, novels, and poems. But best known for fairy tales. You don't have that really great fairy tale book handy, do you?
Not handy.
Did it have Hans Christian?
Yeah, it did.
Well, it had some great pictures, drawings in it. But anyway, I may show that on Aiden coming up show because it's really worth it. His fairy tales consisted of over 156 stories across 9 volumes and translated into more than 125 languages. Hans was born in Odense, Odense, Denmark. It's said that his mother was an illiterate washerwoman. His father, who had received an elementary school education, introduced Hans to literature at a very early age, reading to him the story of the Arabian Nights. And Hans was sent to a local school for poor children where he received a basic education. He eventually supported. Oh, sorry, I'm not reading Hans Christian Andersen, or I'd be more wide awake. He eventually supported himself working as an apprentice to a weaver and then to a tailor. At 14, he moved to Copenhagen to seek employment as an actor. He later focused on a career of writing and began with short stories. Here's a list of Hans Christian Andersen stories. I think this list will be less than 156, but here's one he wrote about me: The Ugly Duckling, The Snow Queen, Thumbelina, The Princess and the Pea. Okay. The Red Shoes, and I'm sure that's not the same Powell and Pressburger ballet movie. No, I'm kidding about that. No. And The Little Mermaid, and so many more. Next, we have a very special person to talk about. Dr. Demento was born on April 2nd, 1941, which makes him 80 years old, even older than I am. Now, he was a very integral part of KMET when it was the Mighty Met, and now it's Mighty again. And we've sent him several emails to try to appear on the show for old time's sake, and he hadn't returned any of them, so he is maybe Dr. Demented, but we'll... Oh, I'm sorry. I got a bad look from SNL when I said that. But, he should call. Anyway, Barrett Eugene Barry Hansen is known professionally as Dr. Demento, and he has a degree in ethnomusicology, which is the study of music from the cultural and social aspects of the people who make it. We talked about jazz earlier, and I'm sure he knows a lot about a lot of kinds of music. Let's get a couple of pictures. If you don't know what he looks like, that's kind of what he looks like these days. Now, he does have a podcast, and I guess I need to listen to it and maybe call in there to ask him to show up on this show. But he is part of what made KMET famous, and KMET is part of what made him famous. There he is these days. And do we have any records? Somewhere, maybe. Anyway, after earning his degree, Hansen lived in Topanga Canyon. Boy, we've talked about that a lot. I love it up there into the 7th ray, even though I remember the food being better in the older days, but who knows. With members of the rock band Spirit, and briefly as a roadie for the band Canned Heat. He is an American radio broadcaster, record collector. See, we've got a lot in common other than just KMET, don't we? Specializing in novelty songs and straight or unusual recordings. Well, that has to do a lot with his degree and his education, which he tried to share with the public. These recordings date from the early days of phonograph records to the present. And his show, The Dr. Demento Show, began in 1970 as a rock and roll and oldies radio program. And he said, I found that most of my requests were for those funny things like the Purple People Eater, boy, I remember that. And the more I played that kind of thing, the more popular the show got, and I became the funny record guy. So, yeah, in the beginning of his radio career, his show broadcasted on KPPC in Pasadena and later moved to KMET, where he performed for a 4-hour live show from 1972 to 1983. He frequently played Spike Jones, and we got some 78s of Spike Jones, really funny stuff on this jukebox we have here. Monty Python, Stan Freberg, and of course Frank Zappa, who was a little more serious than these. Well, they were all serious in their own ways, but as far as serious music, Zappa was the one, for me. There's 2 new Zappa records, really great ones that came out this week. We can talk about that maybe next week or so. He said that if it wasn't for the Dr. Demento show, Weird Al Yankovic would probably be an architect today, as Barry pretty much introduced him. And by Barry, of course, we mean Dr. Demento. And by Hansen, we mean Dr. Demento describes himself as an armchair rail fan. So how do you like that? He, too, is a foamer. So he collects records, loves trains. I think he and I would have a lot in common. But I need to get him to respond. Anyway, sometimes sampling his extensive collection of railroad-related songs on his show. Nice. He has written about music in many magazine articles regarding the roots of rock and roll, rhythm and blues, and country music. He displays his knowledge of history of recorded music in general from the earliest Edison cylinder recording onward. His personal vinyl record collection exceeds 85,000. Now, that's probably more than just 33s. He's got an extra zero there at the end, but before the decimal point. So he's got a big house to put them in, I'm sure. Dr. Demento was inducted into the Radio Hall of Fame in 2009. And Sean, when do you think I will be inducted into the Radio Hall? Don't answer that, please. Keep enjoying your. Anyway, honorable mentions. And I don't know why Alec Guinness is an honorable mention instead of a big shot, but I guess that's because we've talked about him many times in the past. And let's do some pictures first. Picture, please.
I'm trying.
That's all right. That's all right. I can.
There you go.
Yeah, there he is, kind of in his prime. Alec Guinness. I find it kind of unfortunate in a way that most people today only remember him as Obi-Wan Kenobi. But look at that. That's kind of a classic picture. That part in the middle and the cigarette. Yeah, that's pretty cool. And, oh, how official does that look, if you can see that? Better hold it still if you're going to see it at all. I still like the picture with the part in the middle and the cigarette.
That's from the Lady Killers, so it's a little dark.
And yeah, this is a little, but look at that smile. This is from a scene from the Lady Killers, which we'll talk about here in a minute. And this is probably one of the funniest scenes ever put on film, is when that door opens and you see his face and that bird. Man. And of course, Obi-Wan Kenobi. And just like Obi-Wan in the movie, he kind of comes back, but he's never really left us with the memories that he's left us with. This was real genius. So he was born in 1914 and left us in the year 2000. Alec Guinness was an English actor on stage and screen, starring in close to 50 films. I would have thought more than that. He started with several comedies with Ealing Studios, a great studio for comedies. And actually, they also did the one about the night, what was it, with the dreams? Remind me of the.
When he was real young.
Yeah, no. He wasn't even in that film. This was, the one with all the stuff that Rod Serling took stories from, and Matheson, and. Anyway, we'll have.
I'll have to think about it.
Yeah, well, don't just look it up. Just look up Ealing Studios. We have a book on Ealing Studios. Anyway. Collaborated 6 times with director David Lean and later become legendary Obi-Wan Kenobi in the original Star Wars trilogy. He was nominated for 5 Oscars.
Dead of Night.
Dead of Night is the movie I was thinking of. You should see Dead of Night if you haven't. Ealing Studios is known for comedies, but this one is really good. And it's a lot of little short stories all tied together. And like I said, you'll see several of these stories done again on Twilight Zone and things like that. So obviously Matheson saw that movie. Anyway, he was nominated for 5 Oscars, won 1 as well as an honorary award in 1980. He's called A Man with a Thousand Faces, and here is a short list of Alec Guinness films. Great Expectations, which we've got too many copies of, so I couldn't find any this morning. That was 1946, and that still is one of my favorite David Lean films of all times. Oliver. Now, Oliver, a David Lean film, of course, and the old guy, who Fagin
Yeah.
was played by a 21-year-old Alec Guinness. Magnificent. Alec Guinness also did some writing for David Lean in those days, so this is a real genius we're talking about. I'm not sure what year Oliver came out, but that was it. Anyway, back to Ealing Studios. He did Kind Hearts and Coronets, 1949. The Lavender Hill Mob, 1951. The Man in the White Suit, 1951. Let me show you some of those. And this is two of them. Kind Hearts and Coronets, where I think he plays 7 different roles. Captain's Paradise, which he plays one role, but two different, well, one person in 2 different roles. You'd have to see it to understand what a personality change back and forth. And of course, Lavender Hill Mob and The Man in the White Suit. Very, very amazingly good films, comedies, those were. And of course, perhaps the #1 comedy. I'm not sure if that was Ealing or not. I don't.
Yes, it was.
It was?
Oh, wait, I'm not sure.
not sure. The Lady Killers. Now, we've got several copies of this. And I showed you what his picture looked like with his mouth and his teeth. And I think this is one of the first main films that, what's his name was in?
Peter Sellers.
Peter Sellers was in. This was also redone by the Coen brothers with
Tom Hanks.
Tom Hanks, which didn't, for the Coen brothers, didn't get very high ratings. I liked it, however. But then again, I like a lot of things. Lady Killers was 1955, and if you haven't seen it, you have to see it. And Bridge on the River Kwai. Here is that was just on Turner the other day. Here is it's cost a whole $1.99. But nowadays, it would cost a lot more because of the resurgence of records. But Bridge on the River Kwai, I'm sure most of us have either seen it, heard of it, whatever. The Horse's Mouth, another one of my real favorites. And he did this right after Bridge on the River Kwai because he wanted to do a smaller movie instead of a bigger movie. And with that, should we keep going? I guess we should keep going. We're gonna have some trouble when we try to redo it, but that's okay. This is about Dylan Thomas, actually, very lightly based on the life of Dylan Thomas, and it's amazing. I mean, really amazing. So is the music he picked for it. 1958 on that one. Lawrence of Arabia, of course. And here is the music soundtrack. This was $3.99. Big, again, would be more these days. And this is amazing sound. Well, most people know what this sounds like. And this was, of course,
We just showed these because of
in the
David
days
Lean's,
of, because of what?
David Lean's birthday.
Oh, David Lean's birthday. So we just showed these. But, this was one of those films that Costner was also talking about where they had, where you overture music, intermission music, and get out of this theater music. Exit music. So, that's when movies could become a real event. Of course, they were a lot cheaper to go to then, too, but so be it. And let's not forget Dr. Zhivago in 1965. You better get some of those jokes ready, Kath. because I don't know if we may have some extra time here without the break, but that's okay. We like extra time.
Take a break.
No, it's a little late for that already, so don't worry about it. Who cares? We just go on. There's Dr. Zhivago. I really love that film. And again, we did mention Alec Guinness was in it, and so be it. But what happened this day in history? This is cool. This is cool.
This too.
Yeah, well, remember I stuck that at the end as extra. Okay. But on this day, April the 2nd again, or the 2nd, 1877, first human cannonball. 14-year-old Rosa Matilda, named Zazel, performed at the Royal Aquarium in London. On this day, she found a name for herself at this amusement park in London. Zazel flew into the air after being shot out of a cannon. This is great stuff. What a great picture, too. Anyway, I'm sorry. I'm supposed to be showing it to you guys, not to me, guys. So is that cool or what? Look at the way her name is spelled there. And that picture is really, really, I love that picture, showing a huge explosion, which I'm sure there wasn't, but, that's pretty cool. And here is, this was cut off a little bit, but that's okay. There's another showing her being shot out of a cannon. Zazel, the human projectile. Oh, here is a better picture of all of her. And I guess the cannon that she was shot out of. Looks like she may have been shot out of a cannon a few too many times, but so be it. There she is. She's not 14 anymore when that picture was taken. So there were a lot of, she was shot a few times. Now, she flew into the air after being shot out of a cannon. Her act was so astonishing, no one had to silence the audience. They just waited nervously for the torch to be lit and then waited for her to fly through the air. Now, I wonder, were they actually shot out by, they couldn't have been shot out by gunpowder and things like that. They'd be, anyway, before the smoke has cleared, she has made her way as far as 70 feet, landing in the net, and then found bowing and smiling upon the stage. She continued the feat twice daily after multiple newspapers publicized the amazing cannonball performance. And on April 2nd, 1902, the Electric Theater became the first full-time movie theater in the United States. Opens in Los Angeles. Well, that's a good spot for it to open. And when was that? Oh, that was 1902. So Talley's Electric Theater, Talley being the man who did this, on South Main Street. So that would still be downtown. Los Angeles opened its doors as the first prominent. I don't think I mentioned the address, which of course is not still there, but the address might be important. 262 South Main Street. And it would open first permanent movie theater designed specifically for the exhibition of films, supervised by Thomas Lincoln Talley. Prior to the Electric, the new amusements of motion pictures were shown in storefronts and first floors of existing buildings. The initial hours were 7:30 p.m. to 10:30 p.m., but soon provided matinee screenings, both day and night showings, and regularly sold out of every last 10-cent ticket. They weren't 10 cents when I was young. They were 25 cents. And now the 25 is still there, but there's
several zeros.
yeah, it's not cents anymore. In fact, I don't even know if anybody uses that. Remember, it was a C with a line through it meant cents. Nobody uses that anymore. Everything's too expensive. With James Dixon Williams Tally, founded First National Pictures. Wow. Huh. And was the first to show a color movie in LA and the first to sign Charlie Chaplin and Mary Pickford to a movie contract. So that's the same person, right?
Mm-hmm.
Wow. Let's get some pictures out here for you. This is Tally's Theater. Dumb Girl of... I can't read exactly. Anyway, that is a cool looking joint on South Main Street. In the 600 blocks. That'd be 6 blocks south of, Wilshire First Street area. Okay. And here is the Mensch himself, Mr. Tally. And he tallied up quite a experience, I think, for a lot of people. I had no idea he was that important in the film industry. So there. So in April, exact day is unclear, in 1958, however, The Attack of the Puppet People was released. Now, I don't have one of those to show, but it was on Svengoolie a few weeks ago.
Yeah.
And, like any other John Agar movie, it was okay, but fun. But, of course, never as much fun as the poster would lead you to believe. And there's been several films like that where there are things, and television series where you're attacked by dogs, cats, spiders. The best one, of course, being the Shrinking Man. What is the whole name? Incredible Shrinking Man, which kind of turned out to be more of a masterpiece than just science fiction. But there's that. Attack of the Puppet People. Oh, my God. Oh, John Agar signed it, I'm sure, in person. No. One of the worst actors ever to live, but at least, he was always smiling no matter what, even while people were being killed right in front of him, he was still smiling. He had that...
about the brain from Planet Eros?
Oh, the brain,
Yeah.
the what? Yeah. The brain from Planet Eros, though I liked better than this one. But he always had that S-eaten grin on his face, no matter what or who was being killed in front of him. But there he is. Husband of, what's her name? Child actress.
Temple?
Yeah,
Shirley
Temple's husband. And it was released on that day. And the science fiction horror film was directed by Bert I. Gordon and starred June Kenny, John Agar, and John Hoyt from Twilight Zone's episode, Will the Real Martian Please Stand Up? This guy was the guy that created the puppets. But this was better. This was good. And no, this was not in Edge of Night or whatever that other movie was. This was an original Twilight Zone thingy. I think this was written by Rod Serling himself rather than Matheson. I'm not absolutely sure. But yeah, that was a great one, as you know. And I don't need to get into it. Probably most people not. So Bert I. Gordon also brought us such classics as the Cyclops. Okay. Dr. Cyclops was pretty good, but that was different. The Amazing Colossal Man. Those were fun. Beginning of the End. Earth versus the Flying Saucers, which was one of the early Harryhausen films, and very, very good, and very loosely based on Colonel Keyhole's book of the same, not the same name, but, completely different. And Empire of the Ants, The Attack of the Puppet People, was released as a double feature with War of the Colossal Beast. It was initially rushed into production to capitalize on the popular success of The Incredible Shrinking Man, which I guess I already mentioned. But let's face it, it was not in the same league. And The Incredible Shrinking Man was released. I'm The Incredible Yawning Man. It was released the previous year. So in April 3rd of 1968, speaking of Rod Serling, Planet of the Apes premiered nationally in the United States, and it was directed by Franklin J. Schaffner, starred Charlton Heston, Roddy McDowall, and Kim Hunter, with the screenplay written by Rod Serling from Twilight Zone. And, well, give me this. This, of course, is, I think I've shown this before, and this comes with all these swell pictures. Music by Jerry Goldsmith, who did some amazing stuff. And also, with that record comes this. Oh, God, there's so much to it. Okay. I gotta wait and see how much of this actually shows up on the monitor. But I can always go back.
A little newspaper.
Yeah, it's a newspaper. And look at the back, even has stories, more stories. Oh, and it's got a it's got an ad for the movie right there in the on the back page of the newspaper. And it's even inside here. This is really cool, otherwise I wouldn't be taking this much time showing it to you. Great thing for radio, but you know, take a look. Go to the website, go to my website, or go to KMET's and take a look. And pretty good. Ape guards overpower crazed human animal. Man recaptured after daring escape. Medals for gorillas who helped in recapture. Anyway, just doing some reading. I mean, I could spend some time with that, but that actually came with the soundtrack record. And speaking of big time movies, because I saw this in Cinerama, I saw it with overture music, I saw it with intermission music, and with exit, get out of the theater music in Cinerama. 2001, A Space Odyssey premiered April 2nd, 1968. And it premiered at Uptown Theater in Washington, D.C. Uptown, believe it or not. The film was directed, of course, by Stanley Kubrick, starring Gary Lockwood, Keir Dullea, and it's still considered the grandest of all science fiction movies, one that inspired countless adventures set in the vastness of space. And I guess I don't need to show you what this looks like, but there, you know, we've shown this before. Everybody has seen this, probably not as many times as I have, but I'm lucky in that I saw it at least 2 or 3 times in Cinerama, and I wish they would show it again in Cinerama. I think it was one strip Cinerama, which means it wouldn't have exactly been Cinerama, but they were marketing it that way. So, inspired countless adventures set in the vastness, deep space, the vastness of deep space. Which reminds me, have you seen the film Vast is the Night? Isn't that the name of it?
Uh-huh.
It's on Amazon, and it is really inventive. Great camera work that you have not seen in other films. And it's just, I mean, it is science fiction in a way it isn't. It is just great. So, highly recommend Vast is the
of the Night.
Take a look. Because it's so good. I want to make sure I say it right. So, you know, on this show, we try to give out things to do here in Southern California, because there are so many things to do that sometimes we need some direction.
The Vast of Night.
I'm sorry, it's called The Vast of Night. And I thought it was it was scheduled to go off of Amazon about a year ago, but because it was so popular, they kept it going, and it's highly recommended. So, things to do. The enchanting oasis. And again, when I do these things to do, whoa, look at that fire going. Got a fire in the fireplace because it makes me feel cozy and warm. You know what I mean? Even though it's not as cold as it could be outside. But the enchanting oasis in Southern California that is right out of a storybook. So I'm reading from Only in Your State, again, which I get on the internet. And you can too. Anyway, so I'm quoting from them. From the beaches to the mountains and even the desert, there are many places in Southern California where you can soak up some magnificent scenery. But there's one spot in particular hiding in plain sight that is the perfect destination for an afternoon of wandering and exploring inside an enchanting SoCal, Southern California, oasis. Want to take a look? It says there's a fun tour of this delightful spot in Southern California that will put a smile on your face. It is the Sherman Library and Gardens in Corona Del Mar, and they say it is pure bliss. It has been there a long time. My wife and I even went there to see about
chamber music.
Well, chamber music, yeah, but also as a place for our wedding. Mm-hmm. And that means it was there 200 years ago. So there's a sign out front because you can miss it very easily in Corona Del Mar on Coast Highway. Is it right around the corner? No, but then again, it's not as far as 2001 or Beyond Infinity either. It's within reach. So you will find a magical destination, again, I'm quoting, that combines 3 delightful settings: botanical gardens, a library, and a mouth-watering restaurant serving coastal garden cuisine. There's no such thing as coastal garden cuisine. Give me a break, but it's good food. Now, I find a lot of these places have been putting in restaurants in spite of the pandemic that we had been going through. Rogers Gardens, I would say, is another one that's very close to this. You could hit them both the same day. Rogers Gardens is a nursery, but they've got really beautiful things there, beautiful settings, and they have opened a very popular restaurant there also. So we can get into a little bit more of that perhaps another time. But the Botanical Garden offers a tranquil and peaceful backdrop for a day of exploring seasonal blooms, herbs, and, succulents from all over the world. Let me get a picture. We got lots of succulents here. Did I only make one picture of the area? Okay, well, so be it. There is a pretty picture, but there's a lot. It's a fairly large space. It costs, as I recall, nothing to spend time walking through there and having yourself a great time and enjoying it all you want. You'll discover delicate water features tucked inside the property, including a mesmerizing fountain that makes for a stunning garden centerpiece. And the library located at Sherman Library and Gardens is a historical research library with a vast, not vast of night, but a vast collection of books and other materials accessible to the public for reading and viewing. Sherman Library and Gardens. A day at the Sherman Library and Gardens wouldn't be complete without a stop at Cafe Jardin, Jardin, the on-site restaurant. They offer an elegant menu featuring local coastal garden cuisine. Again, I think they just made that up, don't you? I do. Anyway, the food here is more than mouth-watering. It happens to be quite beautifully presented. Let me beautifully present Oh, I thought I had another picture of what looked like a patty melt too. I guess not, huh?
That sounds good.
Oh, patty melt sounds good?
Yeah.
Okay, let's cut the show off and go get some patty melts. Anyway, yeah, it does sound good. Uh, I don't know what that is, but it sure looks good. What does it look like?
What is that?
Well, it looks like a steak on top of some potatoes and some, but I could be wrong. I'll give it to Nassanelli and see what she thinks it looks like from outer space. So
There's some eyebrows and cheeks and a nose.
eyebrows,
Yeah.
cheeks. Yeah, you're right. It's kind of a face. You want me to show it again as a face?
And hair,
Yeah, and hair. So hair here.
Yeah.
Hair is here. Eyebrows, you said were
No,
what?
on the line below, like the black, right in the middle. In the middle, there's like, it goes from left to right. Across, above the nose, above the nose.
This is the nose.
Yeah,
Right?
and-
Oh, eyebrows
yeah.
here. Okay, so it's got a little bit of Groucho in it. Right? Okay, so you got the Groucho steak when you get there. So enhance your dining experience, you may want to grab a seat outside near the water. And not the, it's very close to the ocean, but I don't think they mean that water. So even when the sun is blistering hot, you'll stay nice and cool under the umbrellas. But not least, make sure to take time to explore the garden shop. I knew there was a way for them to make more money. I don't remember the shop. Do you remember shopping there? I don't know. So that's probably new too. They're monetizing. That's the new word. They're monetizing the gardens. But worthwhile, I think it is. And we haven't been there in 40 some years, but I think we will within the next week or so. I need to actually follow my own, recommendations. And I think we did that thing on Mount Baldy last week or so. And that's, I mean, I'd love to go there again. And anyway, there's a fun assortment of merchandise, including many must-haves for every gardener on the planet. And I'm sure it'll be very inexpensive to buy it there, right?
Right.
No. But you never know what you might find you won't see somewhere else. So Sherman Library and Gardens, where is it? It is 2647 East Coast Highway in Corona Del Mar. And again, you look for that sign or write down this address or get it back or just look up Sherman Library. It's not so much a library as a garden setting and restaurant now. But you'll want to know the address because, like I said, you can drive by it very quickly. Even though it takes up a whole city block out front, it's still easy to drive by. 2647 East Coast Highway, 2647 East Coast Highway in Corona Del Mar, which is officially Newport Beach, but, it is on the south end. The garden is open from 10:30 a.m. to 4 p.m. daily, 10:30 to 4 every day, and the library is open, 10:30 to 4 Monday through Friday. Well, let's see, is open 10 a.m. to 4 daily. Oh, I see. So it looks like exactly the same. So the library is open exactly the same hours as the garden is, and that is 10:30 to 4. And boy, was I wrong about not getting in for free. We used to, as I recall, but now it's at $5 for non-members, adults, and admission for members of Sherman Library is free. I can't tell you what membership is like, but unless you plan on going there several times or just making it a contribution, membership could be different. But I promise I'll go there in the next couple of weeks and I'll report back. All right, and if you can't get enough Southern California garden landscape, you might want to make a day trip to this flower farm hiding in Southern California, the perfect springtime adventure. So that is an adventure for you. So we have just a couple minutes left. Do you have a quick joke, Nassanelli, before
Sure.
I sign off?
Sure.
Okay, hold on a little bit, Nassanelli. Rip it.
Where do you learn to make ice cream?
I don't know. Where do you learn to make ice cream?
Sunday school.
Oh, my God. That's not bad, though. Not bad.
Yeah.
One more quickie if you're going to be quick.
Why was the airplane grounded?
Why was the airplane grounded?
It had a bad altitude.
Yeah. it had a bad altitude. I don't know. Do you ever watch air disasters on television? I mean, if you're in a bad mood, I mean, always turn on air disasters and you see how life can be so much worse for 100 other people. In any case, let me just say goodbye and thank you so much. Thanks again to John Moss for spending the time with us about Native American culture and things you can do. And of course, thanks to Sean, our engineer, and thanks so much, most of all, to people listening and hopefully also watching. And be sure to have a great weekend. It looks like the weather will be decent, even warmer next week, but have a great weekend. Stay safe, and most of all, stay safe and stay productive. And until then, this is Jay Kaplan of the Educated Retirement saying goodbye, good night, and hope to be with you again next week. Thanks again. Bye-bye.